How long has it been since your accident? My car accident happened February 2nd, 2018, and so 6 years since the car accident. Some good friends of mine were getting married in Mexico. All of our friends had gone ahead earlier in the week to spend some time in Mexico. And we really just had about a day's worth of time to be there. And so we left on a Friday. The wedding was Friday night, and we were gonna get back to Miami by Saturday to be at church on Sunday.
We were so excited. We're like, all right, we're finally here. We're getting there. We were pumped. I remember getting in the car, falling asleep, and the next thing I remember is an impact.
I wasn't sure if it was reality or not, and I was kind of in and out of consciousness, and I remember coming back to myself and thinking, oh, I think something just happened. I think I just got into a car accident. And somebody opened up the car door that we were in, and they kind of picked me up and put me on the side of the road. And I remember just kind of screaming out in pain. All I could pray is, God, I don't want to die. And I sat there and I was unsure if I would make it. I remember being laid on maybe some kind of hospital bed of some sort, and my friends being there. I could hear their voices. I could kind of feel them holding my hand. My initial injuries were not, you couldn't see them. They were all internal, but my friends could tell that there was something wrong with me, and so they kind of was pushing with the doctors for the doctors to see me. The moment that they started running some tests and the moment that they started doing some checks and some scans, they realized that I had a lot of internal injuries. My spleen had ruptured, my diaphragm was injured, I had all kinds of internal injuries. One of the last things I remember is a doctor coming up to me, or one of my friends, I don't even know who, and was like, hey, we have to take out your spleen. You can live without your spleen, but we have to go into emergency surgery now. And up until that point in my life, I had never had a surgery. I had never been to the hospital for anything serious. Unbeknownst to me, I was in a medically induced coma, and I was placed in that coma for 10 days because after the 2 different surgeries that they had to make sure that my body would respond properly. Over that 10 days, I had family fly in. They had like rhythms of prayer. They would wake up and pray and then go to breakfast and then pray. And the entire day was just them praying and believing God. And so the day that I woke up from the coma was a miracle, and a day that they were able to breathe again.
I remember it was funny because I didn't know what day it was and nobody wanted to tell me. And when I finally found out, I said, who won the Super Bowl?
Like the halftime show was really what I was concerned about. But little things like that of memories that I felt like I missed out on things that I didn't know.
So we just all been praying for, and we wanted to give you a good report from Cancun.
Just want to say a big hello to all of you guys. I'm getting stronger because of you, because of your prayers. We're going to see incredible things happen from this. I love you all so much, church. You are the best church on the planet. Love you, Church.
You look amazing. Oh my God, Jesus, bless your holy name. Jesus.
Because the accident had happened in Mexico, there was all these different tests that I had to do now that I was back in the States, just to make sure everything was good. And before I had gone to the doctor, my older brother, he was like, Manouchka, you have a bump on your back. When I was at the doctor's office, I had briefly mentioned it to my doctor in passing at the end of my appointment. I said, my brother mentioned that I had a bump on my back, and he was like, all right, we'll order an x-ray, we'll see what it is. The x-ray was ordered, but it wasn't for another 2 weeks. I was still in a whole lot of pain. Everything that I did required assistance, getting out of bed, getting into bed. After those 2 weeks had passed and I had finally gone in for the x-ray, as she performed the x-rays, I could tell on her face that something was wrong. And she said, just wait right here. I have to go talk to some of my colleagues. She came down and she pulled my mom and I to the side, and she broke the news to me that my back was fractured.
See, I was in a coma, and so my bones had fused together and it started to heal incorrectly, and the doctors in Mexico missed it. The doctors were like, you need to go to the emergency room immediately. One wrong move and you can be paralyzed. And I was wondering, I was like, God, you brought me through this thing just for me to have to go to something else.
The first few surgeries that I had, I was in a coma, so I really didn't have time to be scared. I didn't have time to be anxious. But now I'm in the hospital preparing for back surgery. And I have all the time in the world to sit and be anxious and to be afraid. And doctors come in and tell you what they want to accomplish, but they also tell you what could go wrong. And so I had all kinds of fears going into this surgery. The thought of having to be under anesthesia and under medicine that, was beyond my control was a little scary for me. The morning of my surgery, my friend Carissa, she came to visit and take some time to pray with me. And she said, Manouchka, I saw you in a dream and you were running in a marathon. And I heard that and I was like, a marathon? I was like, I don't even know how to sign up for a marathon. I had no information about a marathon, but what I said to myself, I was like, all right, if you had this dream that I was running and you had this dream that I was in a marathon, surely this must mean that God's gonna heal me and that I'm gonna make it out of this thing. Everything had went well with the surgery, and I started physical therapy again in order for me to get my strength back and to really get to a place where I could actually run in a marathon. But if I'm being completely honest, it was one of those things where I got the word, but now that I was out of it, I kind of was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this at some point in my life. Like, it was like, eventually I'll get to the marathon thing. I'll get to it someday.
How long have you been her trainer? Has it been like years or months?
No, it has not been.
No.
It's maybe, was it November?
Had to be like maybe October,
November, for sure.
Yeah, so like, I've always knew that I had to run the marathon because it was like, I had that prophecy in my head. But it was not until, I think me, Jam, and our friend Raina, we were like talking after a workout, and Raina's like, I'm running the marathon. And I'm like, I'm supposed to run the marathon. Kind of telling my background story. And we decided to run the half marathon. We're like, let's just do it. And we signed up, we started training. I remember the first time I ran, I was like, there's no way I can run a half marathon. I was like, impossible. I didn't know anything about running. I didn't do sports in high school. I didn't run a mile up until that time. Like, there was nothing I knew about running. And so I started training and started getting ready. And we looked at the date of the marathon, and coincidentally, the date of the marathon was like maybe a few days after my accident anniversary, or what I like to call my life anniversary. And I was like, man, it's way too close. I think the timing thing was wild to know that the Miami Marathon is always probably a week before my accident anniversary. And so we were talking about it, and I decided to run, and I had some friends that said, you know what, I'm gonna run with you in solidarity. And so my friends Jam and Janelle, we all decided to run with our friend Raina. That's my girl. And we did our first half.
You did it with Jam?
I did it with Jam.
Yeah, I only did it for mine. I'm not like running.
After that second half marathon, I was convinced that I was never gonna run again. I was like, I'm good. And then I had a friend. It's always a friend. I feel like all of this is just, there's always somebody that's like, you should do this. And I had a friend that was asking me about if I was going to run in the marathon. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna run in the marathon. First, I thought the word that I received was so that I would know that I would make it out of the surgery alive. I feel like there were layers to even why I received this word that started to get revealed over time.
God was like, listen, I'm not gonna just heal you, I'm going to accelerate you. I'm not gonna just heal you, I'm gonna fully restore you and allow you to do something that you never thought that you could do before. There's many things in our lives that we feel like are delayed, and we're like, God, I feel so delayed. I feel like I'm held back. I feel like I'm not doing enough, but God's like, don't worry about it, that I can still use your story even when you feel delayed.
I thought that it would limit me, but God showed me that he could use my limits. And so the half marathon required an immense amount of training. And I do believe that I needed those 2 half marathons before I stepped into the full thing. I don't think I could have stepped into the full thing just 1 year to the next. Like, I really did need discipline. I needed the training. I needed the rhythm of what it looked like to live a certain lifestyle when you're training and getting ready. I've realized I've never called myself an athlete, but I feel like now I am an athlete. I might look and feel a little tired and weary right now, but all of this is in preparation. So I'm excited. This prep has been it's been a journey, but it proved to me that I could do hard things that I thought were impossible. And so I'm excited. The first long run of me getting back into long run was 12 miles. And I was laying on the side of the road in Coconut Grove, crying out for Jesus and my doctor because I caught the worst cramp. But 12 miles was hard. And now at 12 miles, it feels easy. It's the craziest thing. You hit 12 miles, you're like, oh, I could do 12 miles. But so 12 miles was the first long run, I think, in the category of runs, and now we're at 20. So there we go.
Great. I'm proud
Thank
of
you, Nelly.
I'm so proud of her.
You gotta remind me of the milestones, you know?
I got you. I'm here to help you celebrate the wins.
Thank you. 4180. I was nervous yesterday. I was like, we're almost here, but we're gonna do this thing. Almost to the starting lineup. We really here. You're gonna do great. I'm excited. That's wild. Stepped into this thought of running the marathon as me fully fulfilling that prophetic word and the picture and the idea of running a full marathon. Because I'm like, you know what? God didn't do a half miracle, so I don't want to just leave it at a half. And the beautiful thing is that I get to do it in community. I got everything. I got the watch. Got this. Phone, AirPods. Doing good. About to be 11 miles in. Almost halfway there. The beautiful thing is that God can use our lowest moments because I've watched how God has used this in more ways than one. It's like you could look at all the pieces and think, how in the world could this ever come to be something beautiful? But God takes all these moments, He takes the hard things, He takes the pain, He takes the heartache, He takes the anxiety, He takes all of it, and then you're like, oh God, you were able to do that with this. It has just, I think, deepened my level of faith in God and just trusting Him no matter what the season looks like. I could have not made it through, and the fact that I'm here today is a testimony. So every time I run, I know that I'm running for the glory of God.